Hi. As you can see here, we have an algebraic equation where we're trying to solve and find the value of m. So the variable m are in two expressions that are being divided by either 5 or 7. As you know, probably to solve an equation, an algebraic equation with one variable, we need to isolate the variable on one side of the equal sign. So in a problem like this, the best way to approach that is to first get rid of the denominators of the numbers that are being divided into the expressions before we try to isolate the variable. Okay, there's different ways that we can do this. The way that I chose it is I found the least common multiple of 5 and 7, the smallest number that 5 and 7 will divide into evenly, which would be 35. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply this expression here by 35 and this expression here by 35. Now, in order to keep everything equal, what you do to one thing as far as multiplication and division are concerned, you have to do to every part or every term of the equation. So I also need to multiply this 2 by 35. So I'm multiplying every part of the equation by 35, and that keeps everything true or equal. The reason I'm multiplying by 35 is because 5 will go into 35 7 times, and 7 will go into 35 5 times. So I'm eliminating through factoring, through reducing, I'm eliminating the 5 and the 7. So 5 goes into 35 7 times, and 7 goes into 35 5 times. So now I'm left with this equation here, and then I distribute the 7 times m. Then I have a positive times a negative, which is a negative or minus. 7 times 15 is 105. And then this minus, again, is like a plus negative, or I can look at this as a negative 5 being multiplied to a positive 6, which gives me a negative or minus 30 m. And a negative 5 times a negative 12, a minus 12. So a negative times a negative is a positive, so I have a plus 60. And then what I did next, what I'm showing here, is I just rearranged this equation so that my like terms are next to each other. When you move terms like 30, like a number or a number and a variable around, you move it with the sign. So I move this minus 30m in front of the minus 105. And so 7m minus 30m is a negative 23m. Okay? And then I have a negative 105 plus 60. I can look at it that way. What I'm showing here is subtracting is like adding the opposite. If I'm subtracting a negative 105, if I'm subtracting a positive 105, it's the opposite of adding a negative 105. They're the same. So I can also look at this as a plus and then a negative 105 plus 60. So negative 105 plus 60 is a negative 45. So negative 23m plus negative 45. If I'm talking too fast, you can pause it and think about what I just said here. Going back to where I was here, a plus negative is the same as a minus. Okay, and I'm just showing that so that it looks a little more clear when I'm getting rid of this minus 45. So a negative 23m minus 45 is equal to 70. So now I'm ready to start getting the variable by itself once I've simplified everything in these steps here. So I want to undo what's being done to the variable. In this case, 45 is being subtracted from it, and negative 23 is being multiplied to it. You undo addition and subtraction before you undo multiplication and division typically. The order of operations in opposite direction. So I'm going to add a 45 to both sides. That's what I would do up here if I wanted to get rid of a negative 45. I'd add a 45. And then I'm going to divide by negative 23 on both sides. And a positive divided by a negative is a negative. And I'm missing my negative sign here. Okay. So that should be m is equal to negative 5. So if I went too fast in any part, just pause it and think about what you're seeing and what you're hearing.